You're listening to The Jacob Valk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter at RealJacobValk. Here he is, Jacob Valk.
Hello, sports fans! Welcome to another edition of the Jacob Valk Show. I am Jacob Valk, and I have to start with Bears-Rams. Look, I said 24-20 Rams. I was close. The Rams did score 24 points. The Bears only scored 10. But, hey, I got 3 out of the 4 digits right. So, can you imagine going to a sports book and saying, hey, give me my money. I got 3 of the 4 digits right. Oh, that's funny. Look, this was not an exciting game. The Rams thoroughly outplayed the Bears. The Bears couldn't get anything going offensively. Even defensively, they underwhelmed. On the offensive side of the ball, Nick Foles did not look good. Missed a bunch of wide-open receivers. Missed Darnell Mooney a few times. Missed Allen Robinson a couple times. Threw no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That was not a good game for Foles. David Montgomery only averaged a little less than 3.5 yards per carry. Brian Griese said during the broadcast that Foles told him that sometimes he knows he won't have time to execute the plays that Matt Nagy calls. And Foles was under constant pressure that whole game. He got sacked 4 times, was hurried a bunch of times. I mean, granted, that's what happens when you're going up against Aaron Donald. And Louis Riddick did a great job of pointing this out. When Donald is doubled, he opens up lanes for the other defensive linemen. Or the blitzing linebacker, the blitzing safety, whoever. I mean, the Bears' offensive line has been solid this year. It hasn't been fantastic, but it hasn't been dreadful. According to Pro Football Focus, no starting offensive lineman for the Bears has a grade lower than 62.7. That's Germaine Fetty who has that grade. Bobby Massey's been good. Charles Leno Jr.'s been good. James Daniels has been good. Cody Whitehair has been good. I mean, that's something they're going to have to get worked out very quickly. I agree with Griese 100% there. But on the defensive side of the ball, can someone step up and make a play besides Khalil Mack? Please. Akeem Hicks? He was okay. Not great, not terrible. Eddie Jackson had a big play late. Fumble return for a touchdown. But that was the only touchdown the Bears had, and it was late in the game. That made the score 24-10. That game was over in the third quarter when Goff threw the touchdown to Gerald Everett. You knew the Bears weren't going to come back. This was a bad loss for the Bears. I wouldn't go too crazy over it, though. You lost to a really good team. You're still 5-2. You're still sitting pretty. You're in one of the wildcard spots in the NFC. Don't worry about it. You're okay. But when you look at the Rams, they just look like a well-oiled machine. All the motion that they do, which, can come across as gimmicky, but it works. Louis Riddick mentioned this on the broadcast, and he's really smart. I like this group that they have, Levy, Greasy, and Riddick. Sometimes I have a tough time differentiating between Greasy and Riddick. And Riddick tends to talk a little too fast. But other than that, they are a solid group. But going back to my original point, that motion works. Again, it draws the defender's eyes away. It gives Goff open targets. It can give the running back an open lane. I mean, one thing that I don't like is the handing the ball off to the wide receiver so much. The Rams did that 5 times yesterday. You have Cam Akers. You picked him in the 2nd round. You have to use him. He's better than Darrell Henderson. He's better than Malcolm Brown. Maybe not as a power back, but overall, he's better than Brown. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Sean McVay, one of the smartest coaches in the NFL. And at the end of the day, it worked for him. They got the win. But that offense, while it's performing really well, I think if they simplified it a little bit, it would be even better. Sometimes McVay and Kevin O'Connell have a tendency to get a little too crazy. Defensively, Aaron Donald made plays even when he wasn't making plays. Opened up lanes for Leonard Floyd. Opened up lanes for Justin Hollins. Michael Brockers also. I thought Brandon Staley put together a really good game plan defensively for the Rams. This is a scary Rams team. They took a step back last year, but 2 years ago, they made the Super Bowl. They have the players necessary to go on a big run. Donald, Ramsey, Goff, Kupp, and Woods, even though they were really non-existent yesterday. I mean, Kupp had 6 catches, I get that, but only for 43 yards. Kupp is better than that. And Robert Woods cost me my fantasy football matchup. Darnell Mooney and Josh Reynolds go off, so I get the loss. Had Montgomery and Woods. According to Yahoo Sports, I had a much better chance of winning than my opponent did. Of course I get the loss. Fantasy football this year is ticking me off, I'll tell you that. But even then, with those guys struggling, Goff found a way to get Reynolds involved. He found a way to get Johnny Munt involved. That big 34-yard catch. Gerald Everett, 4 catches for 28 yards, filling in for Tyler Higbee. This is a scary Rams team. They are capable of going on a deep run in the playoffs. Yesterday, I brought up Michael Thomas. And I did that when I was talking about the New England Patriots. There was a rumor that they were going to go after a wide receiver. And I was just rattling off the names of some wide receivers that have been rumored to be on the trading block. Adam Thielen, Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, and Jamison Crowder. I got some texts afterwards saying, "What are you talking about? Michael Thomas?" My friends had heard about Thielen, they had heard about Jones, they'd heard about Crowder, not Michael Thomas. So I'll go a little more in depth on that. It's actually been rumored for a while that he could possibly be traded The latest comes from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. Thomas's camp is working to find potential deals, but the Saints haven't received a solid offer on him. But this has been rumored for a while. I mean, I'll go a little more in depth on it, but yeah, this has been out there. It goes without saying that Thomas has had a really disappointing year. Missed a bunch of time with a high ankle sprain, sat out week 5 because he got into an altercation with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at practice, and now he's dealing with a hamstring issue. He's only appeared in one game, week 1, against the Buccaneers. He had 3 catches for 17 yards. He's also on a really big contract. If he was to be traded, the team that trades for him would be on the hook for a $20 million cap hit next year. In July of last year, he signed a 5-year, $100 million extension. It made him the highest paid wide receiver of all time. So, I can understand why the Saints may be open to moving him. I mean, Sean Payton has denied that. He's denied it vehemently. But having said that, what would you expect him to say? Yeah, we want to trade him. We just signed this guy to a huge extension last year. Now we want to trade him. I'm not saying Sean Payton is lying or anything, but his denial doesn't mean a whole lot. It's still conceivable that Thomas could be traded. Having said that, this is Michael Thomas we're talking about. This is a guy who every year he's been in the NFL has had over 1,100 receiving yards. Back-to-back years, he's led the NFL in catches. Last year, he led the NFL in receiving yards and receiving yards per game. He is, without question, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. You do not trade this guy. The only possible way I would even consider trading him would be if I got an Odell Beckham-like haul. Give me a first, a solid young player. Granted, Jabril Peppers hasn't turned into that, but at the time, he was viewed as a solid young player. And a third. Then maybe, just maybe, I'd consider trading him. I wouldn't even do the Stephon Diggs trade. A first, a fifth, a sixth, and a fourth. That's not enough for me. It's gotta be Beckham. And even then, I wouldn't do that immediately. I'd have to think about it. Michael Thomas is better than Odell Beckham. I understand why a team would trade for him. We've seen what these premier wide receivers can do for young quarterbacks. Diggs has helped Josh Allen exponentially. DeAndre Hopkins has helped Kyler Murray exponentially. If you have a young quarterback who you want to unleash, yeah, go after Michael Thomas. But if I'm the Saints, I'm not giving him up easy. The injuries really don't concern me that much. This is the first year that Thomas has really had injury concerns. And the fight in week 5, we don't know what exactly happened. It's clear that Thomas was the aggressor, but Thomas has never had that type of an issue before. This is an isolated incident. Maybe Gardner Johnson just caught him on a bad day or something. Maybe someone close to him got the coronavirus or something. I have no idea. The point is, Thomas has usually been a choir boy. I'd have no problem trading for him. I don't think he'd be a cancer in the locker room. I don't think he'd be a negative influence at all. I'd hesitate to move him if I was the Saints, but if I was a team with a young quarterback, not the Jets, it makes no sense for the Jets to trade draft picks for this guy. But if you have a young quarterback and you're looking to take that next step, yeah, trade for Michael Thomas. Speaking of the Jets, they are in trade-related news. Manish Mehta of the Daily News tweeted that the Jets are trying to trade Quinnen Williams. Now, Rich Cimini of ESPN shot that down almost immediately. He said that the Jets aren't shopping him. Now, Ralph Vacchiano of SNY said that the Jets aren't shopping him, but they may be listening. So it really comes down to, who do you believe? I will say this, Manish Mehta is usually wrong when it comes to the Jets. I have no idea how he's still employed by the Daily News. I have no respect for Manish Mehta. He's just done a lot of things that have ticked me off. Muhammad Wilkerson, Doug Marrone, flip-flopping on Adam Gase so quickly, the Wyatt V18 thing, Logan Ryan. He's just wrong a lot. Now, when it comes to Cimini and Vacchiano, you can believe both of them. Vacchiano basically repeated what Cimini said, that the Jets aren't shopping Quinnen Williams. He just added that they may be listening on him. Cimini didn't say if they're listening on him one way or the other. I don't believe that the Jets are shopping him, but I do believe that they would listen. They'd have to. The Jets are 0-7. They're the worst team in the NFL. It would be insane for them to not listen on any player. Quinnen Williams, Sam Darnold, Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims. It doesn't matter. Yes, I'm including Becton there. If the Jets can get a monster offer, trade him. I don't want to trade Becton, but if I can get 2 firsts, yes, I am trading him. Absolutely. But when you look at Quinnen Williams, this is a guy who last trade deadline teams asked about. And Joe Douglas shot him down. There was a report that came out last year that the Jets got a quote-unquote monster offer for Williams. A Godfather-like offer. Joe Douglas didn't do it. Now, we don't know what that offer was, but at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter right now because it seems like the Jets are only getting offers of just 1 second rounder. That's it. Just 1 second for a guy who 18 months ago was the 3rd overall pick in the NFL draft. Has Williams' stock slipped? The answer is yes. This is a guy who, coming out of Alabama, was regarded as an incredibly safe pick. A guy who was drawing Aaron Donald comparisons. A guy who was going to be a wrecking ball from day one. And his rookie year, he wasn't that. He had a solid rookie year. Certainly didn't look like a bust. But didn't look like the next, Marty Lyons. This year, though, he's turned it on. According to Pro Football Focus, he has a 69.9 overall grade. That's 2.5 points better than his grade last year. I understand only 2.5 points, but still, baby steps. He had 3 sacks last year. He already has 3 this year. He had 17 tackles last year. He already has 18. He forced a fumble against the Niners. He didn't do that last year. He's improved. He's taken a big step forward. And I like Quinn Williams. I really do. Did I want Josh Allen over him? Yes. Absolutely. But I like Williams. I said at the time that I would have loved Josh Allen, but I would have liked the Quinnen Williams pick. And I still like Quinnen Williams. But having said that, the Jets are 0-7. I feel like I'm repeating myself a million times here. But it's the truth. They're the worst team in football. They have to be listening on everyone. It would be more upsetting to me if Joe Douglas just hung up the phone rather than entertained an offer on Quinnen Williams. Now, 1 second rounder isn't going to get it done. I will keep Quinnen Williams for that. The bare minimum that I would consider accepting for him would be a first and a third. And even then, I'm not crazy about it. Because if it's a low first from a team like the Chiefs or the Packers or someone like that, what good does that really do me? I invested the 3rd overall pick in this guy, and all I get is a year and a half from him, a late first and a late third. I'm not crazy about that. The Jets are in a position where they need to get as many draft picks as possible. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jamison Crowder was traded. It wouldn't surprise me if Chris Herndon was traded. It wouldn't surprise me if Brian Poole was traded. It wouldn't surprise me if Marcus May was traded. Would it surprise me if Sam Darnold was traded? The answer is yes, it would, but I would welcome it with open arms. What you need to realize when thinking about the possibility of the Jets trading Quinnen Williams is, do the Jets need to trade him? The answer is no. They have him for 3 more years, 2 guaranteed, and the 5th year option. They are under no deadline whatsoever to trade Quinnen Williams. They can trade him before the draft. They can trade him during the draft. They can trade him after the draft. If they really want to trade him, they don't need to do it before November 3rd. Yes, that is election day. And it boggles my mind that the NFL has the trade deadline on election day. I said this during my last Jets recap. I was quoting a Yahoo Sports article when I said that it was in October, and that was wrong. It is November 3rd. You're going to get a show November 3rd. It's just going to come later. Like 4:30, 5 o'clock-ish. The bottom line is that the Jets don't need to trade Quinnen Williams. They are going to need a Godfather offer to do it. 1 second isn't going to do it. Even 1 first isn't going to do it. I mean, if it was a team like the Bengals or the Giants or the Falcons or the Jaguars, a really terrible team, yes, 1 first would do it. But in a perfect world, I would get 2 firsts for Quinnen Williams. I would love to know what that monster offer was last year. That has never come out. I do believe it happened. I do believe that it was declined. But I would love to know specifically what it was. At the end of the day, when I talk to you a week from tomorrow, I think Quinnen Williams is still going to be a New York Jet. But if you want to talk about a defensive lineman who does need to be traded, you don't need to look much further than Everson Griffin. According to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, the Cowboys have made it known that he's available. As we all know, the Cowboys are dreadful. They are 2-5. Their defense is probably the worst in the NFL. Mike Nolan is completely clueless. The guy can't even eat Tabasco correctly. If you'll go on my Twitter, at RealJacobValk, you will see a clip of him scratching his eye with the same hand that had Tabasco on it. Look, I really don't like Tabasco, but I do like buffalo chicken and stuff like that. I'm not great with spicy food, but I'm okay with it. I have scratched my eye after eating spicy food, and yeah, it burns like a mother. I don't envy Mike Nolan for 1 second, but that does perfectly epitomize the 2020 Dallas Cowboys. In fact, it perfectly epitomizes 2020. But going back to Griffin, he has struggled this year. He left the Vikings to go to the Cowboys. He was great with the Vikings. I always liked Griffin. I remember liking him coming out of USC in 2010. I couldn't believe it when he slipped to the 4th round. This guy has never had a Pro Football Focus grade worse than 63.4, and that was in his sophomore season. This year, it's 56.6. This anemic Cowboys defense is dragging him down. Mike Nolan has done an absolutely terrible job. Now, the one thing about trading him is that the Cowboys are still in the playoff hunt. As we all know, the NFC least is so bad that the Cowboys are just a half game behind the Eagles for first place. The Cowboys play the Eagles on Sunday night. If the Cowboys win that game, they're in first place. So Jerry Jones needs to make a tough decision. Is it worth throwing in the towel on this season and giving Cowboys fans another year of missing the playoffs? Realize, Troy Aikman isn't there anymore. In the past 11 seasons, from 2010 on, they have only made the playoffs 3 times. In the seasons where they made the playoffs, they've only won a total of 2 playoff games. Cowboys fans are starved for postseason success. Having said that, if you make the playoffs, there's no way you're winning a game. I don't care who you go up against. Cardinals, Rams, whoever. There's no way you're winning that game. I mean, Jerry Jones is withstanding a lot of heat right now in Dallas. A lot of people are saying he made the wrong decision with Mike McCarthy. And I was never crazy about McCarthy. It's clear he made the wrong choice with Mike Nolan. Should the Cowboys trade Griffin? The answer is yes. But I don't think it's in Jerry Jones' DNA to throw the season away. I would give up a 5th-round pick for Griffin. And if I'm the Cowboys, I would do it. But, again, I don't think Jerry Jones is going to do it. Alright, now it's time to preview Game 6 of the World Series. Blake Snell going up against Tony Gonsolin, a rematch of Game 2. Now, the one good thing about this pitching matchup is that Dave Roberts said that he is going to ride Gonsolin a little bit more than he did in Game 2. I think that is the right decision. I don't trust this Dodgers bullpen at all. So, yeah, you have to ride Gonsolin. I mean, I like Gonsolin. I think he's a solid pitcher. He went 2-2 this year with a 2.31 ERA. Was a highly thought of prospect. And he's got good stuff. Good fastball, good splitter, good curve, good slider. He likes to throw his slider in such a way that he gets righties flailing at it through the zone. The fastball he'll attack hitters with. The splitter falls through the outside part of the zone to righties. Gonsolin isn't comfortable attacking hitters with anything other than his fastball. And that is true against lefties. His curve should be effective against lefties because it locks him up. You know, if you can get a lot of movement on that, they will swing at those 58-footers. But he just doesn't throw it a lot. In fact, he really doesn't throw the curve a lot at all. If I'm Kevin Cash, I'm going very lefty-heavy tonight. Whatever lefties Cash has available, use them. Start them, and let him go to work. But when you look at Snell, he throws 4 pitches, a fastball at the top of the zone, a changeup that is really, really effective against righties. Against lefties, he likes to lock them up with a slider and bury a 58-foot curveball. This is going to be a battle of 2 pitchers that only attack hitters with their fastball. Snell and Gonsolin are kind of similar with their stuff. Now, Snell is the better pitcher, and I do think the Rays are going to win tonight, even though I said Dodgers in 6 before the series started. But I do think the Rays are going to win tonight. Snell is by far and away the better pitcher. And obviously, the Rays won Game 2. But here's an interesting fact for you about this World Series. If the Dodgers lose this World Series, they will become the first team in MLB history to lose 3 out of 4 consecutive World Series. We've had 3 out of 5. We've never had 3 out of 4. The 49-53 Dodgers lost 3 out of 5. The 52-56 Dodgers lost 3 out of 5. The 60-64 Yankees lost 3 out of 5. The 74-78 Dodgers lost 3 out of 5. And the 91-96 Braves lost 3 out of 5. No team has ever lost 3 out of 4. The Dodgers could do that if they lose tonight and tomorrow night. Alright, you just got some Valk talk about baseball. Now I'll give you some Valk talk about hockey. The Colorado Avalanche and Devon Toews avoided arbitration by agreeing to a 4-year contract worth $16.4 million. I like Toews a lot. I was sorry to see him go. I understood why Lamoriello traded him, and I understand why the Islanders haven't done anything. They don't have the cap room for it. But I like Toews a lot. Solid top 4 defenseman. This contract may be a little bit of an overpay, but I don't think it's the end of the world. The Avalanche now have incredible depth on the blue line with Graves, McCarr, Girard, Johnson, Toews, and Cole. That's very important to them. They had to lock up Toews long term since they traded 2 seconds for him. I don't hate this move, but I don't love it. Moving on now to the Senators re-signing Chris Tierney to a 2-year deal worth $7 million. And I like this move. I like Tierney a lot. Really good penalty killer. Plays the game the right way. Solid second liner. Incredibly durable. In a perfect world, he'd be on the third line. But you can put him on the second line, and he'll hold his own. He's solid defensively. I don't mind you having a two-way player like him on your second line. The Senators did need to lock up Tierney. He's a vital part of their youth movement. They made a concerted effort to get better this offseason by trading for Matt Murray, Josh Brown, and Eric Goodbranson. I think Tierney's going to help the Senators to a better season than people think. It wouldn't surprise me if they got 30 wins. I'm not saying they're going to be a great team or anything, but I think they'll be better than they've been in years past. I really do. I think they'll take a big step forward. Until tomorrow, I am Jacob Valk saying that the Giants are looking for a trade, but I don't think Atlanta wants to depart with a quality player.